Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Compelling Conversations podcast. Tonight, I'm joined by Olsi. Olsi, thanks so much for being here, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Omar. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm excited actually. I've been pushing this for like 2 weeks, and finally, alhamdulillah, I got some time to talk to my boy.
Yeah, I'm really excited for you to be here. Where are you joining us from?
I'm in College Station right now, so I live in an apartment with a bunch of brothers, and yeah, College Station.
Nice, nice. So to begin, Olsi, I wanted to discuss something about my journey lately, and I wanted to see what you might have to say about it in terms of yourself. For many years, I was a cooped up artist, so to speak. I had a lot of ideas, a lot of visions, but they were always in my mind and inside of my soul, but I never quite manifested them into real life. It was only over this past summer where I actually took like a lot of those visions and I actually did something about them and I put them into the real world. And when I finally did that, it was kind of liberating. And it was kind of like once I freed that pigeon, an eagle allowed itself to manifest,
Mhm.
that symbol of freedom. So I'm curious for yourself, is there anything that, you have cooped up inside of you and that you maybe freed one time and it changed your life?
Actually, that's a really good question. So, I for whoever doesn't know, last year we started YM here at A&M. And
What
so
is that?
Vision that YM is it's called Young Muslims, right? So it's an organization meant to bring just brothers together where we do a little event, whether it's an activity, playing basketball or something, and we just do a halaqah right after. So when I was young, I wasn't very religious and stuff like that. So I went through a whole journey in high school, but these two brothers of mine, they're actually go to UH. They changed my life completely, right? And then they brought me to YM. So after they changed my life, my vision was like, yo, my life was changed. They basically saved my life in a way, right? So they saved my life. How about I save someone else's life? So my whole sophomore year, actually, like I was kept on talking to my friends. I'm like, I have this vision to change people's lives, to do this and that. But I was just talking. It just felt like you just talk sometimes about your vision, but you don't ever do anything, right? So one day, I'm just sitting with my friend. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I made our Instagram. I made our thing. I'm like, we're doing this, whether it succeeds or not. Our goal is to change one person's life. That's what my vision was, right? And so we started off. It was 13 guys. It was all that stuff. But just the fact that it was 13 guys, that was when I was like, okay, you know what? Like this could work. And then we just consistently started going like weekly events. And then now, alhamdulillah, we get like 40, 50 guys every week, right? But once I found out that I can achieve something, if I put my mind to it, it now I have visions that are even greater than the one I had with YM, right? So to me, whenever you like you were saying, like in the summer, it felt like now you can build an eagle, like it's like an eagle became an eagle, like a sign of freedom. That's exactly what it felt like. I
Hmm.
promise you, the second I saw YM actually start succeeding, I started setting goals for 20 years ahead that I work on today. Literally, like they clog up my mind where I'm like, I know I can do this because I mean, when I started YM, I wasn't religious. It wasn't the best of religious people. Like I wasn't the most knowledgeable. None of that. I was like, I just have a vision, and I know this. I'm gonna just do it. So it taught me that no matter how dumb you think you are, how little you know about something, if you put your mind to it, it'll succeed, inshallah, as long as you make dua and everything, right? So that's kind of how me opening up myself once and going after my vision completely changed my life. It actually like
Wow.
absolutely 180 flip. It was my freshman sophomore year. I didn't even know what I wanted to do. I was like, oh, I just want to make money. And now it's like I have visions that I want to achieve for the Ummah in 20, 30 years. So it was a life changing experience. So I guess for whoever's listening is like if you have a vision, no matter how dumb or stupid you think you are, I promise you, when you put your head to something and you really are passionate about it, you will achieve it 100% if it's best for you. So that's kind of my motto now. So now I just do everything for my visions for 20, 30 years ahead.
Wow. I really like that. And perhaps you could relate to this as well. Like when I allowed myself to be freed in that sense, it was kind of like I came upon a realization. And that realization was this whole time it was an ego trip for me.
Mm,
And being able to like actually do that was like freeing myself from the ego trip. Now I had that um just that comfort to just exist. And then you talking about, having future visions. Now I realize like my visions now were actually like they're for other people.
exactly.
That concept of service.
Exactly.
So would you say that you've had ego trips where that's like, or you freed yourself from ego trips in terms of that?
Um, so I guess I would ask like what exactly do you mean by ego trips, right? Before I answer that question, what do you mean exactly by ego trips?
Well, it was interesting. I heard Russell Brand talk about this where he's like, a lot of times we think, oh man, like if I do this one thing, perhaps some people will love me. Perhaps they'll give me their sign of approval. Perhaps I can get some pleasure out of this. And then you realize, oh yeah, that doesn't ever work, ever. And then when you get that realization, like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well then what really does matter? And then he says, the universal principles that do matter are, compassion, kindness, love, surrender, right? That's a big part of our faith. Service.
Yeah.
So something along those lines.
Yeah. I mean, so in the beginning, actually, it is kind of an ego trip, right? You're like, you get all this attention in the beginning. And then a lot of times it feels like you start liking it, right? I mean, people come up to you and stuff like that. But as time goes by, as you were saying, it's kind of like it's worthless. It's useless in a way. I began to like rethink my intentions and stuff like that because again, my intention in the beginning was good, but through time, when you get all this attention when you've never had it before, like it's kind of it boosts your ego a little bit, right? But that's why I actually like keep a really strong group of friends where like it's funny because it'll be like the biggest we'll do some big event or I'll give a big halakha or something, and these guys will be like, yeah, it was all right. Like you could do better than that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think the most important thing for ego trips is having those people that humble you. Like
Mm.
my brother Bilal, like he's a like Bilal Salama, the UH president. That's my brother, man. That's like I know if I need to get checked or he needs to get checked, we go to each other. That's literally like how we do it, right? So that's kind of how I was able to get through that. And then now it feels like a lot more pure. Like the service feels a lot more pure. So I think I did get through. I did go over that little hill, and it was the only reason why I got it over is because my friends pushed me over the hill, literally.
Wow.
So that's what I would say.
I like
That's what
that.
I would say.
Yeah. And I feel like that freedom that you feel after that is perhaps like the prettiest of freedoms. Because in a way, it's like the realest freedom. Now you're like thinking about
Exactly.
other people again, that selfless concept.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, and especially when you're leading something, you're constantly gonna have like ego trips in a way. You're constantly gonna be scared that you're arrogant, right? But
Yeah.
Imam Shafi has an amazing quote on that, and it's a I don't have it memorized, but he says he talks about worrying constantly about your sincerity is the right way. He's like that's how you know you can be sincere, right?
Hmm.
I can pull up the quote later, maybe, but it's a very beautiful quote, and it honestly helped me a lot. Actually, I want to pull it up right now because I it's a quote that I hold dear to my heart.
I like that actually.
It's a let me pull it up. All right. So Imam Shafi rahimahullah said, "All humans are dead except those who have knowledge, and all those who have knowledge are asleep except those who do good deeds, and those who do deeds are deceived except those who are sincere, and those who are sincere are always in a state of worry." So the fear behind the ego is actually a good thing. So that's kind of how I started viewing it now, right? So it still feels pure, right? Even if you feel like sometimes you have like you feel like a little ego come into you, if you worry about it, that's good. That's at least the first step, you know, because it's
Yeah.
really hard. And I've asked you before, is like whenever you have like these very big shiuk and they're like doing all these great things, and you ask them, you're like, how do you humble yourself? I asked them that. I was like, how do you humble yourself? They're like, I just think about the horrible thoughts I have in my mind, and I'm like, I'm no better than anyone here. So
Wow.
so it's very interesting. It's a very arrogance slash ego is a very hard thing to get over, especially in leadership positions.
Yeah, it is. It certainly is. One of the things that I noticed about like my personality that changed as a part of this was I used to be more loose. I used to be more like lofty and just, I guess, more charismatic. Now I feel more stiff, more rigid, more adult, so to speak. Have changes like that happened to your personality?
Honestly, before I even answer that, is like when I saw you yesterday, you felt a lot more calm. Like you just like I'm not like the when I first I think I met you at the state park trip. I
Yeah, it
might
was
have
about a
met you
year
before that.
ago. Austin,
But
eh?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I told you I was like you look like a poet. Like you just sound like a poet or like a writer. The way you speak, the way you carry yourself. But it's very interesting because when I saw you yesterday, you just like felt like you looked at peace. You literally like you were just speaking to me like and you felt calm. So that's
Mm.
interesting. Maybe I don't know if that's maybe something that's changed about you, but it's just something I noticed. I said salam and you
Oh,
said salam, and then we just talked and you were just very calm and peaceful. And I was like, interesting. Or this was Sunday, yeah.
yeah. Well, I take that as a compliment, so thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's good. But so what was the question again? Is that how I've changed the like personality wise? That kind
Yeah,
of
so
the
going
question.
back to this thing about, how it's freed you and stuff, how when you do your visions, what has it changed about you as a
I
person, or
go,
has it even?
yeah,
Yeah.
I go with a really it's I have a very how do I say this? Very tough mindset in a way. Is so the way it's changed me is like I have these goals now, right? I have this vision, but I haven't achieved it yet, right? So in my head, I think of myself as a failure. And I know this sounds very like sad, but that's how I push myself, right?
Yeah.
So like a way that's like in this year, that's how my mentality has changed. Like I feel like a failure if I don't go for this goal and I don't achieve it, right? I mean, of course, if I try my best, then that's what I'll be rewarded on. But in my head, I'm a failure until I've achieved it. So what that has affected is like I'm constantly like hungry to have that goal achieved. So that's something that's changed my mind. Now I've been on go mode a lot. I've I'm constantly trying to talk to people, but I'm also trying to work at home, kind of thing.
What makes you hungry and what makes you thirsty?
Interesting, just interesting conversation. Hungry,
Yeah.
bro. I honestly have a very bland taste. I'm not gonna lie.
No, no, I don't mean literal taste.
I know, I know, I
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know. So I what makes me hungry is the fact that I see people back home, like back in Kosovo. So I'm from Kosovo, right? And the masajid there are very empty. There's no one really there, right? So the fact that I know that my country back home is struggling, like with just Islam in general, is a very like that makes me hungry to maybe achieve something myself or help some way in Kosovo, right? So that's kind of what drives me is like that want to do something big for someone.
Mm.
And it's a very interesting like problem I have sometimes is because I do value one-on-one relationships a lot. So it's do you want to affect 1,000? Do you want to try and affect 1,000 people, but you have a very minimal relationship with them, or do you want to focus on one person who you can completely change their life, right?
Wow. I
So
really like that
it's
actually. And if I
yeah,
can interject for a moment, I have to like praise you for that. Because honestly, like every time I've met you, it's just honesty. You are like that person where if I speak to you one on one, I know that your attention is on me. Like you're there in that conversation. So
yeah.
kudos to you on that, man.
I mean, alhamdulillah. I mean, yeah, no reason. Yeah, alhamdulillah. But yeah, so it's just like a something I that's something I have to figure out, right? So
Hmm.
it's yeah. So I guess that's what makes me hungry.
Yeah, I like that. What about thirsty?
Thirsty, that's an interesting.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know. It's an
I don't know either.
I don't know.
I don't know how to
That's an
answer those
interesting.
questions myself. Yeah,
Thirsty is a. I don't even know how you like what that feeling would be.
yeah,
Thirsty, I guess like so with thirst you can last longer without food than with thirst without like water. So I guess I would say like the the thirst would be like something I feel like in the next year. There are goals that I have like that I want to achieve within a year, right?
hmm,
There's stuff I want to achieve really soon. But now this thirst is very confusing because it's mixing with my hunger because if some thirst goals don't help me with my hungry goals, right? So
yeah,
it's a again in my head is like 14 different things. What do I want to do? As I was telling you before, I
yeah,
think that might have been after we started. It's like I have these different things I like. I like doing a lot of different stuff, right? But I don't have a good way of prioritizing it because it's just like my head will go like, oh, I want to write this. No, I want to read this, or I want to do this, right?
yeah.
So my thirsty goals are very iffy right now. I actually don't have an exact thirsty goal. I guess I would
Mm.
say.
I like the way that you put that into words, though. That is an interesting perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah. A concept that keeps coming back, I find, with the things you're saying is it seems as though like faith frees you. And I find that interesting because, our faith, Islam, it literally means to surrender to the will of God.
to submit.
And
Yeah.
it is that freedom that, tastes the sweetest, I suppose. So when it comes to faith for you, what binds you to it?
So I heard something really powerful once. First of all, I like. There's two things I've heard actually really good. Well, first one is I heard a quote by Nietzsche is like, if you've killed God, you've killed yourself, right? Is so that was the when I heard that quote, I was like, that increased my iman, right? And for me, faith is I don't know I have a very hard time seeing how people are not sad or depressed if they don't see an afterlife. If they don't see, I mean, like, well, what is your reason behind serving other people if you don't see an afterlife, right? So faith frees me, and to be honest, like that Nietzsche quote and the quote I've heard once is like, "Don't wake up like it's an accident." Stuff like that, like really increases my faith in a way because it's like I know I have a purpose, and I don't want to kill myself, right? Like in the way like if you kill God, you've killed yourself, right? So and you just see the beauty in Islam is there's nothing more there's nothing more well researched. There's no religion I've ever because I've read a little bit of like into Christianity and stuff like that. I've never seen a religion this beautiful where the Prophet ﷺ is so well researched, so well like such perfect person, literally a perfect human being. And it's like it increases your iman, it increases your faith. And when you have faith, in my opinion, you have freedom, as you were saying. You have that contentment. Although in my head, I think I'm a failure, in my heart, I feel content. I'm like, alhamdulillah. It's like whatever happens, happens. But in my mind, I'm like, I know I gotta do something. So that's kind of how I view faith.
Yeah. Is there a specific prophetic story of any of the prophets that particularly inspires you?
It's a good question. It's a really good question. Never I haven't thought about that. I have to get back to you on that.
Okay, yeah,
That's
yeah,
a
that's fine.
question.
Yeah, for me,
Yeah.
I have to be honest, I didn't have any reverence for any of the prophets until I,
Yeah.
had a transformation, so to speak. And for
Yeah.
me, the interest began with Moses. And then, it went on
Interesting.
from Moses to Joseph and then to Jacob and then
To
to
you.
Christ. And as of right now, it's I'm really interested in the story of Zachariah because
And Zachariah.
yeah, what I find so profound about him is he's this old man. And when he visits Mary and he sees that God has given her, sustenance, these fruits and these gifts and whatnot, he just sees that And he's like, if God can do that for her, why can't he answer my prayer? Why can't he bless me with a child? So what he does is he stands in his little corner and he prays. He has complete optimism and he has sincerity in his heart. And he prays and he prays and he prays. And he
Mm,
never loses his faith. And so that demonstrates this sort of patience. And I'm like, wow, like he's an old man and he still has his
yeah,
patience. He still has his hope. So I think it's really cool. And that's just a story that's been fascinating me lately.
I love that. It's
Yeah.
interesting. I think it's not a very prophetic story. This isn't a very prophetic story that I'm about to tell you, but it's just something I was talking to Ostad about is so I was reading a lot into like like post Prophet Saddam's death, right?
Yeah.
So like the Rashidun and like everyone after them. Now you see like so you already know like this is based on Sirah the Jahiliyyah and stuff like that, all the tribalism, all the killing their daughters and mistreating women and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that happened before, right? The process didn't fix that. But then I'm like, wait a minute, why after the process everyone's divided? Why is people going into war with each other? And I heard something really profound from Yasser Qali. He's like, our religion is perfect, our history is human, right?
Mm.
So our religion is divine, our history is human. And that clicks in my head as I'm talking to Ustad. And I'm like, this actually increased my iman. This is not a prophetic story in a way, but it's something that really like increased my faith. Is if before Jahiliyyah, the Prophet ﷺ was in there, everyone was fighting, everyone was arguing with each other, everyone not a good thing. After there's still that tribalism coming back a little bit, that nationality, the arguments. So then I think I'm like, the one man was able to unite all of these people. Every single person that was fighting after was united into one by this one man. How can that not be divine? I mean, that's a miracle of its own, right? The fact that he was able to unite these tribalistic mentalities and nationalistic mentalities is is a divine is miracle on its own. So like as I'm talking to the Stead, I'm like, and I think of I'm like in my head I'm like, because I was trying to actually like in a way attack Islam, right? Because I I try to attack Islam, and I always say this like I try to attack Islam, and Islam defended back and countered harder. Like because at that when Islam defended, I felt my heart just increase. Like I felt my iman blow up because
Wow.
that like especially when you if you're given dawah and stuff like that is you constantly you constantly like see the beauty in Islam and you hear other people's religions, right? But like whenever you're researching on your own, is like a different and you see all this stuff and it hits you, it counters back at you as you're doing your own research. It's beautiful. It's best feeling. So that's a prophetic story. That's something recently that I've been thinking about.
Wow. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
really profound. One of the things that I really like about the Prophet, peace be upon him, is he says that he came to perfect manners. And to me
Mhm.
personally, that's just like the most spot on thing he could say.
Yeah.
I came to
Yeah.
perfect people's manners. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, and he did it in a way. I mean, we literally have how to drink, not to eat from like the other side of the plate. Eat from your side of the plate. Eat with your right hand. You know, it's say Bismillah. Like it's there's so much profoundness to it. It's amazing. I
Yeah.
that's why I see faith as freedom, man. Faith is beauty.
I was talking to my cousin on this podcast some episodes ago, and we were discussing how the word sin, I believe in the Aramaic, in the Hebrew, I think in the Semitic languages, it means to miss the mark. And he's
Mm,
like he does MMA, he works out, and we were just discussing, working out in general. And I posed this question to him because, so many of us don't work out, we are in a way missing the mark. So are we sinners? And I know you yourself, you have a very chiseled body, you work out regularly. How does that operate for you? Do you feel like you're tapping into your best potential working out and stuff? Do you think we're sinners, missing the mark for not working out?
all right. So sinner, I'm not gonna say haram or
Yeah, it's
halal,
all
of
good.
course,
It's all
right?
good.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
haram or halal, of course. That's
yeah.
not.
It's an interesting thing to think about, though, especially
Yeah,
in
yeah,
those terms, missing the mark.
yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the something I heard recently from a sheikh was like the hadith about Like Allah loves the strong believers, right? So the strong believers doesn't just mean their iman. It means like all around strong believers, like like everything around, right?
Yeah.
So it's funny you say that because I don't understand how people don't work out or like don't do some type of activity, right? Because you feel, first of all, feeling healthier makes it easier for you to pray, makes it easier for you to do ibadah, makes it easier for tawaf on at the Kaaba. It makes everything easier.
Makes
It's
school
good.
easier too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes everything easy. First of all, like you, if you wake up after Fajr and you pray whatever, and then you go walk or you do something healthy, it increases your testosterone. It does everything good for you.
Yeah.
So it's like there's so much good in it. And people back in Arabia were like fit. They weren't fat,
They
you know,
were.
they were
They
fit
were.
because
Yeah.
they were constantly working. So it's like you should be fit for this for the sake of Allah. First of all, for the sake of Allah, and for everything else too. Like you need to make sure that first of all, like another reason why MMA is so great and all that stuff is because it helps you be able to protect your family, right? And that's like
Yeah.
and that makes it so easy to, bro. You can make MMA ibadah, like you can make jujitsu ibadah. Like how beautiful is our religion? So it's like everything can be ibadah, and it just, yeah, I just think it's you in a way you are missing the mark, but I'm not saying it's a sin, right? I'm not saying, but you are
Yeah.
missing the
Yeah.
mark to be my opinion, the strong believer.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. I totally do. And I really like how you mentioned, anything you do to better yourself is in a way like worship. It's praying to God, you know.
Yeah, if you do
I
it for
think
the
that's
sake
very
of
cool.
Allah, it's an ibadah. So it's you get rewarded for anything you do for the sake of Allah. So
I noticed you have an injury. What has that injury taught you?
what has it taught me?
Yeah.
To to be honest, not much. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it actually makes me feel a lot more appreciative, I guess. But
Yeah.
um, it was funny because I went to the masjid in Mascati, and it was like a jujitsu thing.
Hmm.
And I see the blue belt. He comes up to me, and I don't have a gi on me. So gi is like the clothing that they wear that's like long sleeve and stuff like that. I didn't have a gi on me, so he's like, "All right, let's go wrestle." Like it's wrestling grappling. So I start grappling with him, and we go to the ground, and my finger just gets stuck on his thigh, and it starts pointing this way. Like so, right now it's
Ooh.
sprained. But what I learned, I guess, is I need to also to be more calm when I'm going against people I know are better than me at stuff, right? It's like,
Yeah.
especially again when you work out and stuff like that, you get a little stronger. So you want to use all that strength. But the thing about jujitsu and stuff like that is it's based on technique. It's not just based on strength. So I learned to use more technique instead of strength. I
Yeah.
guess I would say that.
There's this thing that Marcus Aurelius says in Meditations, which is something along the lines of um, if you cast out your opinion about a thing, it ceases to bother you. And he's mentioned it also specifically in the context of an injury. So when I sprained my ankle, it really hurt, but like I took care of it like immediately. But I had to like go like travel the next day. So what I did was I just said to myself, like doesn't matter, my ankle's fine. Walked to the airport, walked around the city, everything was fine. So I think for myself, something that my injury taught me was like it's really about the mind. You callous the mind, eh?
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
know you. It's actually something I'm struggling with because I want to get back to jujitsu, but my mind won't let me. It's like I'm scared to go to jujitsu while I still have a sprained thumb.
Yeah.
So we'll see, inshallah.
Who inspires you the most?
My uncle.
And why is that?
So as I was saying, like when I was young, I wasn't very religious. Oh, that's a whole story in its own. But so I lived in Kosovo, and my parents worked in Iraq, so they weren't very much home. But so and no one in my family really like prays, right? So but the only person that prayed was my uncle. So
Mm.
my uncle, he used to pray, and I used to be like a 8-year-old, 7-year-old kid, and I'd be like, "Oh, I want him to like me." So all right, you know what? And so he can like me, I'm gonna go pray with him. And then I pray with him. Of course, I'm just going up and down. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know the
Yeah.
words. But then he would like sit down with me, like during Ramadan when I'm a kid, bro, and he would just tell me stories. I don't even remember. To be honest, I don't remember them. but you can always remember feelings. That's part of my personal opinion. I feel like I
Yeah.
remember the feeling. I remember him telling me I'd be like so happy and be like, oh my god, that's a beautiful story. So he would bring me to Juma and stuff like that. But then I would come to America. Then when I came to America, I stopped completely, right? I stopped praying. I stopped going to Juma and stuff like that. My parents weren't religious. My brother's too young, so I had no one to push me. But I'd go back home, and he would talk to me, like he would bring me to pray. Then I'd come back here, same thing, right back at it. So it was like a cycle. So one day he tells me, he's like, religion is not like a light switch, like not a it's not like a battery. You can't turn it off or on, right? But I didn't pay attention to it. I came back here, did my whole thing, stopped praying and stuff like that. Then one day it clicks, right? I started. I don't want to get too much into it, but I started praying and stuff like that. And it's funny because, like, I mean, Allahu Alam, but if my uncle wasn't there to teach me how to pray and teach me Islam, I don't know where I'll be today. Like, I generally don't think I'd be religious at all, or I would even be Muslim. Maybe I might have just left the fold of Islam, especially with atheism so much on the rise. So I look up to him because I picked my major because of him. I picked my religion because of him. I picked my the way I play sports because of him. My interactions with people. I mean, he was the one that taught me manners, like how to eat, like eat with my right hand, eat with your mouth closed. So he was like my father basically when I was back home.
Wow. What's his name?
I'm not gonna. I don't want to say.
Okay, no worries. Yeah. What does your name mean?
My name actually means nothing. The Olsi means absolutely nothing. I looked it up on urban. I looked it up on Urban Dictionary once. It said different, and different was spelled different too. So it was like misspelled. So I was like, okay.
Wow.
I flexed
Interesting.
that to all of my friends. I was flexing that to all my friends. I was like, yeah, I'm different.
Wow.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's been a really cool conversation with you, man. I was wondering, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything that you wanted to say, but you felt like you didn't get a chance to, or anything on your mind that you wanted to express?
Nah, man. First of all, I would like to say thank you for having me. Second of all, you're a really good listener. It's interesting. You're a really
Oh,
good listener, and you're really good at asking questions and talking. Because usually well, again, I've gotten a little bit more open in this last year, but I'm usually more closed off. But
oh.
you gave me more comfortable. You gave me a little comfortable conversation. So alhamdulillah, I think it was a great conversation. I'm really happy that you had me on here.
Yeah, likewise. And I really appreciate you saying that. As I mentioned, like I feel more stiff these days, but that I was able to give you some comfort, like that means something to me, you know?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. Is there anything inspiring that you want to close off with? Anything that you've been thinking about?
Um, yeah, I've just been really thinking about that quote on "Don't wake up like it's an accident. Stop waking up like it's an accident." It just there's so much to that quote that is so profound to me. And first of all, it's not like a hadith or something, of course, right? And in no way I'm not knowledgeable. And also, whatever I said, I might have made a mistake or something. And may Allah forgive me for that. That was from my own problem. But yeah, that quote's been hitting me a lot because, for example, we all struggle sometimes with being productive, or we're not as productive as we would like to. So that every time I think of that quote, it gets me in that mood like, okay, I need to get my stuff done. And I really need to get my stuff done, man. I'm not doing good in school. I've been focused on too many other things. But yeah, man, I guess I would just tell the people listening is like, don't wake up like it's an accident. Use the most out of your day and don't waste any time because for that time you'll be answering for it on the day of judgment.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. I wanted to ask you real quick on the tangent of what you just mentioned. Do you think people shouldn't have regrets too, then? Like in the sense of you just mentioned that, right? So it's like for a person that's listening, this is the moment of realization. Don't look back, don't regret, just move forward.
I'm not a very yeah. I don't have many. I think everyone has regrets. I believe everyone has regrets. So everyone like wishes they did that, or wishes they did that. It's about how much weight you give those regrets, right? So if you make these regrets weigh down on you and make you not want to achieve great things in life, then that's not something I like roll with. I have plenty of regrets. We all have plenty of regrets that we've done. That's the point. Like even this time, you move on. You keep going. You do great things. You completely forget about those regrets. I mean, in a way, and you fix them or whatever. Let's say like you wanted to be a business major and because you wanted to know more about business. Like, okay, I didn't do that. It wasn't in the plan that Allah had written for me. Now it's time to start a business. Screw it. Who cares? You have whatever 80 years, inshallah, that you're gonna live. Like, who cares? Who cares what happened in the past? It's like let's get to it. Let's move on, and let's do great things. Inshallah.
Yeah. I heard this girl yesterday, she said something along the lines of mediocrity is forbidden to the Muslims. And you give me that
Mm,
vibe. So I
yeah,
think that's something we could all aspire up to.
yeah, yeah.
Freeing that pigeon within you so the eagle can
There you
manifest.
go. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. Once you see that you can do it once, you'll have the confidence to do it
Yeah.
again.
Next level type stuff, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Alhamdulillah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much again, Olsi, for joining me. It was an awesome conversation, man. I really appreciate your time and your input. It was truly beneficial stuff.
Yeah, man. And may Allah reward you, bro, for doing all this. I
Thank you.
hope
I
you. I hope
appreciate
you do.
that.
I hope you do great things with this podcast, inshallah.
Yeah, I hope so, inshallah. And likewise to you, man. Like, I see you doing your things. You're a great
Yeah.
guy, and I mean that honestly. So,
Alhamdulillah. Thanks, bro.
yeah. All right. Well, I suppose until next time, then, huh? Take care, my
And
friend.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wam